evening and welcome to Monday night here on DJNTV. Tonight, I am joined by the man from Chicago, KC. Thanks for being with me this evening.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Young.
So we're going to cover a lot of different aspects tonight of this question that many DJs have, especially as different shows are popping up across our calendar about the idea of can I learn more here or there, or is this beneficial? And we're going to answer a lot of questions tonight about what you as a potential attendee at a different event, any number of events, what might work the best for you. Before we get into that, though, Casey, let's do the 60-second marquee update. What do you got for me? Make it quick, and let's go, and then we'll jump into the rest of the show tonight.
Bottom line is, I think we've got the best education of any show that's happening in 2023 with what's been announced for upcoming shows, what I've seen in the past. It's great education. We've got a ton of DJ and photo booth suppliers, not as big as some of the other shows, but the quality's there. And so whether you're talking a Chauvet in a 20 by 20 booth or a 10 by 10, the bottom line is they're there to help and show you what they have. It's affordable to fly into Chicago. The rooms are extremely reasonable, and we've got parties every night as well. So it's going to be a great event. I hope you guys can join us.
And it's kicking off in 2 weeks, and you guys can go to the link in the description of this video with the marqueeshow.com link. Just click on that, and you can go check it out. And you can still get your tickets to go if you'd like to head to Chicago, or if you just want to check out the exhibit hall, you can go and just check that out and get a feel for it. So, Casey, what I want to kind of start, let's talk about networking, because you and I've known each other for a long time, and to a point we met at a DJ show, exactly. But that's
because there was no internet back in the 60s.
Oh, exactly. It was like, the rock happened or the bottle with the note in it, came down the stream. It was great.
Right.
But you do a lot of networking locally within your community in a couple of different areas. Right. And I want you to really talk about some of the networking things you have done within the DJ world, as far as with other DJs in your area.
Well, let's just talk about networking in general. I mean, listen, you and I can talk on the phone, but it's a totally different experience when we have dinner together. Okay. And that's true of anything. Sitting in the lobby of a hotel and chatting with other people at what you do, going to a NACE or an ILEA or a WPPI meeting or anything. When you're in person with someone, even look at a concert. Okay. Taylor Swift just sold out 3 nights here with 63,000 people. Mm-hmm. The comedian Matt Rife has gone from selling 80 to 100 tickets. He just sold out for next May 8 shows over the course of 4 days to a place that holds 5,000 seats. And he's a comedian. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're talking about 40,000 people going to see him. There's lots of education. There's lots of ways to network through Facebook and chat rooms and discussion groups, but there is nothing like being face to face. I mean, think about it on the most intimate level with family. Okay, you can tell your grandma you love her on the phone, but when you hug her, goodbye at the end of Christmas or whatever, even that, it's just a totally different experience. And so, I've been to I think 9 different conferences this year. For various parts of my various businesses. And I'll tell you, it's just a totally different experience. I mean, you're able to also customize your conversation accordingly with vendors, with colleagues. So, I mean,
that's where I want to go, actually.
Live. Yeah.
I want to go there because you mentioned the customizing of the conversation. Let's compare and contrast that from when you and I are doing a show like we are now, or we talk on the phone, which we do on a regular basis. Right. Mm-hmm. There's things that we can do differently when we're face to face, as far as that in a conversation. For people who are like, it's pretty much the same.
It's not the same because there's also body language. There's everything, and it's different too. Let's say you and I are on the phone together. That's fine. But if we're sitting in the lobby of the Hyatt or the Atlantic City Hard Rock or whatever, the thing that I love, and one of the reasons that we choose the hotels we choose, is I love that there's a sofa pit area in our hotel. You can have 5 guys there from 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's like a revolving cast where people are just coming in and out, and the conversation, it just goes wherever it's going to go organically. Um, as some of you know that follow me, is my dream is to open up an ice cream and candy store someday. And I went to the snack and sweet show here in Chicago, and as I'm sitting eating a slice of pizza at a break, I just start talking to this really nice family that owns actually up by you, a, a gift shop that has candy and bottled sodas and everything else from Minnesota. And we wound up talking about like nothing you think. It was everything was about what they sell the most of and things like that. Whereas
Sure.
on the show floor, I've got every candy manufacturer trying to say, sell me, you'll make the most money, you sell me. But actually talking to this family, like I was astounded. They're one of their top 3 SKUs was bottled sodas. And what's even crazier is it's the people with families like yours that have teenage boys that like to do stupid stuff, like buying bacon flavored soda just because they're 14 and they have to try it because it looks disgusting, it sounds
And
disgusting,
they're going to try.
and they
Yeah.
have to touch the stove to see that it's hot. But again, this is information that you can't, you know, you might be able to read it in a forum somewhere, like a chat room or a group or whatever it is. But when you see somebody going, oh my God, you got to do this, or you got to do that, or I made so much money with this, or, oh, doing it this way, I found that I save so much more time, or, I found that if I train my customers, I don't have to work on Sundays, and I don't have to do this and I don't have to do that. And I used to charge this much, but now I charge this much. And then I might be doing less jobs, but I'm making the same amount of money, and I've bought part of my life back, or I'm working 150 shows a year, but now I'm charging $300 more. So I'm making another X amount of dollars or
Right.
whatever it is. But that conversation just goes wherever it's going to go, and that's the beautiful part. You can't do that when you're not in person because life is in the way. Your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband are calling you, your kids need your attention, the dog needs to be let out. You realize that you're trying to multitask and you've got food in the oven and you've got the dishwasher going and you've got kids to pick up. But when you're physically in a networking situation or a conference or even just a local chamber of commerce meeting, your focus is 100% being in the moment and
Right.
being there. And so again, this isn't a sales pitch for me. I'm just talking. You
In
go to a
general,
local
wherever.
chamber of commerce meeting, you mute your phone, and that's it, and leave it put away. Like just put it away. And we're so addicted to our phones. I just saw an article, and I'll try to find it and I'll post it.
Yeah, I'll check. You were saying it was on phones, being too addicted to phones.
Correct.
I'll find it.
There's a restaurant, and they have like
Oh yes, I think I've heard this one.
they give a 10% discount if you put your phones on the table and never touch them during your meal. And the whole idea is that this restaurant is promoting families having dinner together, not eating at the same table, but literally together. So no TikTok videos, no text messaging, no instant messaging, no Snapchat. They have like the old dish racks that they showed this phone. They had them all lined up in there, nice and neat, and everything else. So that God forbid there was an issue, you can get to it, but it's the same thing. I go to dinner with a group of people in Vegas every year, and we go to Capitol Grill, which is not an inexpensive steakhouse. We all do the same thing. We essentially say goodnight to whoever we're supposed to say goodnight to, and then we turn around and we have to put our phones face down in the center of the table. The first person that grabs their phone has to pay for dinner, and you're talking about 10 guys and probably $125 each. So that's a very expensive phone call. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just good to be in the moment,
And that was the one where you said at a certain time start calling these 3 phone numbers. That was that one.
Yeah, exactly. That way I get my dinner comped.
Uh,
I have a friend of mine text everyone's wives saying your husband needs to talk to you right away.
yeah,
Call.
exactly. Quick, go.
So,
So
but
you as you're talking, of course, the you mentioned the body language and to be able
yeah,
to read that, and we both have done a lot of things via Zoom when it comes to client meetings or different
sure.
parts of our business.
Like I have no pants on right now.
Oh, neither do I, but that's that we weren't going to talk about that till the end of this show.
Right.
But that is such a, I think, an overlooked part of it because we, oh, we're on video and we can see, but there's things with the leaning in or if you have two or multiple people, and sometimes when you're talking to a couple and that, you can see she's into it and he's not on video. Sometimes you're focused on one person and you don't pick up on the second person all that well.
Right.
And then face to face, I don't know, sometimes it screams out at you much more.
Listen, anything in person is different. And you're right, body language is a huge deal. Touching somebody's elbow, putting your hand on someone's shoulder, showing sympathy or compassion with a hug. God forbid you have to go to a funeral or a wake or what have you. And let's face it, it's super convenient and easy to text or send a card or what have you. But we know if we've ever lost somebody close to us that when somebody takes the time out to spend that time with you and they give you a hug, that could mean the difference between you totally breaking down and getting through things or not. And,
Sure.
in business, you know, I don't do it as much as I used to because I'm wearing too many hats right now. But I used to have Tuesdays where all I did was go visit venues. I
Mhm.
dropped off goodie bags and I had different parts of the Chicagoland area that I would visit. On one Tuesday, I'd go downtown. Another Tuesday, I'd hit the Northwest suburbs. Another Tuesday, I'd hit the North Shore. And I just popped in with little bags of candy and business cards and said hello. So I'd be visiting a banquet hall like once a month. And I knew that once a month, they may still need they might not need my business cards, but they definitely had run out of candy. So I came back and brought them even more candy, or we did different themed things. Like at Halloween, we used to pop in with those little dollar store trick or treat orange pumpkins,
Mm.
and we just filled them with candy and goodies. And in the summer, we did the same thing with a dollar store sand bucket, and we put little things in there like bubbles and just kind of fun
Hmm.
summery kind of stuff, sparklers. It wasn't expensive. It was just the idea that we took the time to come out and visit you and say hello and go from that point of view.
Hmm.
So, and even on the same sentiment, it's not in person, but handwritten thank you notes. I mean, we all love it. We love getting evaluations. You see everyone cut and paste the evaluation,
Yes. Yep.
and that's great. But there's nothing better when someone's snapping a picture of a handwritten thank you note. Dear John, you and your sons made my wedding day absolutely amazing, and I can't thank you enough. I mean, it's again, human connection is something that I think we're starting to go away from, and I think that some of the differences are definitely going to be um, is going to be how people perceive you.
Hmm.
Maya Angelou said, "They'll never forget what you said. They'll never forget what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel." And so that's it.
Yeah, I think that's such a critical thing because that human element is when that's taken away, it does become more of a sterile environment for a lot of things, and sometimes the relationships that we've made over the years would have never happened, and how much a person would have missed in the fullness of life. You
Well,
know,
let's go back to COVID. Okay. COVID, we all did Zoom calls at holidays and Christmas and everything. And then think about like the following holiday when we were finally allowed to celebrate or have Thanksgiving together. Remember how much happy we were? You know, all of the dreaded, like, oh my God, I got to go to my mother's. I got to go to my brother's. It's a 45-minute ride. Once COVID broke and we were allowed to have barbecues and stuff, we couldn't wait
mm-hmm.
to drive halfway across the world just to have human interaction again. There's nothing wrong with the convenience like we're doing right now by having a Zoom call, and it's the same thing with education. There's lots of education out there. I mean, I fix a lot of the little things on my car by looking at YouTube videos
Certainly.
and figuring it out. And I'm not saying that there's not amazing education out there, but sometimes it's just the smallest little things that that make a huge difference. And then there's also the personal side. I mean, if you remember Brian Doyle from Denton and Doyle DJ,
Hmm.
he met his wife at a DJ convention, you know? I mean, and they lived she lived in Boston, he lived in San Francisco, and they've been happily married with kids for forever. I
Sure.
mean, so yeah, I mean, there's tons of it. But
Hmm.
I mean, again, I love the technology. We just did a big Zoom corporate thing on Saturday, but there's something about being in person that just makes it that much more special.
So let's kind of transition. You mentioned education, and I wanted to make sure we hit
Hmm.
a couple of different areas, and education is my next one. When Mike Walter, we've seen him. Thousands of DJs have seen him over the years
Sure.
presenting, and we've also seen some of his presentations recorded and or some of his
Right.
content. You can learn from both of them, but there's a difference, even if he's saying the exact same words. And how would you describe what that difference would be between watching it on video and watching him basically give the same presentation in person?
I, I think it's the same thing. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan. Okay. You have your favorite musical artist. I've got tons of Billy Joel concerts on DVD because I love Billy Joel. Garth Brooks is another one. I saw Garth Brooks on video and thought, oh God, he does a good concert. I can't wait to see him someday.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw him a couple of years ago, he put on an amazing show. And here's the other part of it is when you're also surrounded by all of those people that also absolutely positively love, that thing, you're singing Friends in Low Places with everybody else. And there's that. I mean, as I told you just before we got on the air, I'm going to see Chaz Palmieri do his Bronx Tale, and I saw him be amazing in the movie. But I'm going there to see him specifically, like do his one man show at a small little theater because again, there is a different. It's a different set of senses. It's a different environment when you're live. And again, we know this from even what teachers said that it was much harder to get students to pay attention during COVID on Zoom, where they couldn't captivate the kids the same way as they did
Certainly.
when they were in a classroom. Okay. And so when you go to education, whether you choose to take improv classes or go to the health club or do whatever, being there, I think mentally also commits you to having a different state of mind. When I was in college, I lived in a fraternity house and I had my own room and I could close the door, but someone was going to knock on my door and say, do you want to go to the bar? Someone was going to knock on my door and say, can I borrow your car? Someone was going to knock on my door and say, hey, we're ordering pizza. Do you want to go in on it? If I wanted to study, I had to go to the library because I knew that I would never be able not to focus. Okay. Because I'd get caught up in I'd come up for a slice of pizza, get caught up in a conversation, and 40 minutes later, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the opposite, though. When you go to a convention and you immerse yourself in it, whether it's Anthony Robbins self help or a DJ convention or wedding NBA, and this is the other thing I'm going to suggest that if you make the commitment to going to a show, okay, Vegas is a great town, but you're going there for the show. So do yourself and your career the favor, even if you're struggling through some of those presenters, because not everyone's going to be your cup of tea, sit there anyway. I give Mike Walter tremendous credit. He will not only give a great presentation, if that show is 3 days long, he'll sit through 90% of the seminars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we know him to be a very successful business owner that really knows what he's doing, has his system down. But this is a guy doing probably $2 million a year in business, and he's sitting there. So if you're doing $50,000, $100,000 a year, who are you to be getting up and leaving like you're the smartest guy in the room? Okay. If you're the smartest guy in any room, you need to get into a room with different people.
Yep.
Okay. And that's just the way that it is. I mean, I went to Social Media Examiner to learn about social media back in March, and there's no shortage of people giving advice on the internet, on social media. There's no shortage of people that you could click to subscribe to this for that. And even in the DJ industry, there's people like Joe Budden doing the vault and giving great education. But when you immerse yourself and you turn off everything and I mean, I got to a point where I literally got done with the convention, had all of my notes, wound up going and having a nice dinner. And then I wound up going back to my hotel because my head was ready to explode. Because all I kept thinking about is, okay, how do I implement all of the stuff that I've learned to better my life, my business, my reach, whatever it is. And that's it. And it's no different than joining a health club or going to college or when I started taking stand-up comedy classes, the first day there were 15 people there. The second week there were like 12. By the time we got through the 8 weeks, we were down to like 4 people.
See.
And I still am friends with the person that taught me how to do stand-up. And he's out. He just filmed his first his own audio CD or his own thing, and he's putting out YouTube clips trying to be the next, next Matt Rife. So I mean, but it's a matter of jumping in the pool, man. And I'm not saying you have to jump into the deep end, but you got to get in the pool. You can't just look at it. You can't just say it's pretty. You need to get your butt in there. So that's all.
And I think the, for the people who have who've watched our shows and such and have learned some things and have been able to implement, and they're like, yeah,
people
I'm doing
have learned stuff on your show.
Exactly.
Really?
Well, there was that one show that we actually shared something educational.
Gotcha.
I because of COVID and such, I hadn't been to much of any shows where I've actually sat in the seminars since the COVID situation, and with the lighting symposium, getting back into sitting in there. Yes, there's a complete different level of focus, and your intentionality is completely different. But one of the areas that I really kind of missed is, yes, people can ask questions. They're in a chat room right now, Mikey, Mike, and Eric, and different people. They all ask questions, and we'll get to those when they have things. But when you're in a room, and your presenter is asked for questions, and you ask a question, and you can read not only them. Because a big part of what I was asking questions for is I'm looking around the room and seeing a lot of confused expressions. Even though I'm not seeing faces, I can see body language that there's confusion. So it's like, okay, we need to clarify a little bit. Is this what I'm trying to interpret Ben Stowe for the audience is what it was. And it works well that a person can see the crowd and see what's going on. And then Ben explains it a little differently. And it's like, okay, now there's opportunity to be able to... Mm-hmm. And if I couldn't ask Ben the question to get the clarification, I have people on my left and my right that I can start asking. It's like, did that make sense to you? And then in one situation, the young lady to my right, she's like, oh yeah, here, she showed me on her computer what they were demonstrating as they were going through an application that they were presenting. You don't get that on the computer as much as we can benefit from many things. There's just little nuances that just don't exist.
Well, I also think that, I think that going to live events is also like going to a buffet. You will try things you wouldn't normally try. And I'll give you an example. Last year, we had Diamond Dallas Page as our keynote speaker. Yeah. And a lot of people who weren't wrestling fans thought I was crazy. Now, if you're not a wrestling fan, would you ever watch any of his videos on YouTube or anything? No.
Probably not.
But if you're at the buffet and you've heard about sushi, and you go, okay, I'll try it. And then you find out that you like it. It's no different than if you poked your head into a seminar and you said, okay, I'll sit through it. And if I don't like it, I'll get up and leave. Mm-hmm. That's totally, totally fine. People loved Diamond Dallas Page. This year we've got Rudy Rudiger that the movie Rudy was based on. Is he going to be for everybody? No. But there's going to be some people that are going to go just because of the acclaim of the movie. And I'm hoping that they get a ton out of it and they feel pumped and motivated and they're ready to tear phone books in half.
Sure.
They can find a phone book. But the point being is I want people to be engaged. And I, as a show producer, I think that you need 3 things from a presenter. You need them to be inspirational, meaning not necessarily like I'm Tony Robbins, like here's a motivational thing. But at the end, you want to leave saying, oh my God, I just learned all this stuff about DMX lighting or how to work out or how to cook. I can't wait to get home to cook the recipe that this chef just demonstrated, okay, for my family. Or I can't wait to get into the gym, and according to him, I should be able to cut off so much body fat in so much time. I can't wait to get to my goal.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, I think that doesn't necessarily come through um when you're not live, and even watching it live. I mean, you're at an age, I'm at an age, we both saw the greatest concert of all time, Band Aid, and we watched it on our probably knob TV, no
Yeah.
high definition.
Yep.
Depending if you had cable or not, you saw some of it, not all of it. But the fact of the matter is, like, if you then watch the Freddie Mercury story, and especially if you saw that on an IMAX screen and you saw how they shot it and they recreated it, the whole time I'm like, as an adult, going, I don't remember it being this freaking cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we only saw 2 or 3 songs that were featured from Queen on there. Like, I mean, it's just totally different. So again, it's all of it. It's the fun, it's the cheesiness, it's the seriousness. It just depends on what you're attending.
Mm-hmm.
So
let's head to our final area, because I don't want to make this too terribly long tonight, so you can get you back to your stuff. Let's talk a little bit about specifically events where there's going to be gear on display, because a lot of us, when we're looking to shop for things, the Amazons of the world have really spoiled us and changed our shopping habits, but yet there's value to having the touch and feel.
Oh, I think that see it, feel it, touch it is totally there. I mean, I've bought stuff from China hoping that it's going to be what the manufacturer says.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been fortunate that I've ordered stuff from China and I've been lucky. It's come in with, I haven't had any issues. I haven't had to fight with anyone. And so it's been good. I know other people that have had the opposite experience.
Yes.
But number one, people do business with people by and large, as much as humanly possible. And if you're going to buy a pair of speakers, for example, that you're going to be using every single weekend, entertaining at people's special events, you should be able to come to any show and see it, feel it, touch it, talk to the people who helped design it, find out what its limitations are, find out what its capabilities are. If you're doing a room for 200, a set of Evolve 30s aren't going to be big enough.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice part is when you're actually talking to like somebody from NLFX who's going to be in the EV room, Kat's going to tell you it's not going to give you what you want.
Right.
So, but Amazon's not going to tell you that. Amazon's just going to tell you click here, and then you all of a sudden find. And yes, Amazon's got an easy return policy, but it's still. You can save so much of the learning curve. Not only that, but I think people are afraid to talk to their peers sometime. But when you talk to the actual manufacturer, okay, like Chauvet's got a new controller out that they're going to have. They just debuted it at the NAMM show, and we're going to be the first show where you'll be able to see it, feel it, touch it, play with it. And Chauvet's got like a 20-minute like infomercial, for lack of a better word, where they're going to be showing off all their new products. And again, you have a question, you can talk to Frank, you can talk to Anna. They'll walk you through things. And even if you want to wait for the crowd to die down because you think you're going to ask a stupid question that someone's going to roll their eyes at, then wait for them to walk away and say, Anna, I don't know shit about DMXing. Like, talk to me like I'm a moron. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody does everything perfectly the first time out. We all start terribly. Okay. I mean, that's it. So going to a conference where there's exhibitors, people like James from Curator Live, he's the nicest guy in the world. He'll sit down with you. He'll walk you through how his entire software works. And that's it. I mean, Danny Max is super nice. He'll show you how all of this stuff is built so that you can see it, feel it, touch it. If you're scared that it's going to get destroyed, he can show you the quality. You can hear the speakers in the EV room. You can hear the speakers in the, in the QSC room. You can get on one of Ray Borges' 360 booths and experience it as an attendee. You can sit down with Fletcher from DJ Event Planner and go, can it do this? Can it do that?
Right.
I want to, can I have 700 pull downs for this? Like, he'll tell you what you can and can't do. And again, call it a little infomercial, but we have 4 CRM companies that are going to be at Marquee. So it's like test driving 4 different cars.
Very much
You
so.
want
Yeah.
a Dodge, buy a Dodge. You want a Chevy, buy a Chevy. And part of my goal as a show producer is to give the attendees as many choices as possible. And then, of course, as a producer, is also to put as many attendees through the door as possible that are interested in CRMs or lights or sound or anything
Whatever. Yeah.
else. And so that's my goal. That's what I'm trying to do and make it a win-win. Plus, here's the other thing. At shows, which we haven't talked about, there's show specials that don't happen on Amazon that you might get an email for if you're at the right place, right time, and what have you. But Jetpack bags are offering 10% off. ProX is offering a minimum of 10% off as a show special. Um, I don't believe Pioneer's got a show special through their dealer, but I know that there will be Pioneer stock at the show. And as we know, with supply chains having been challenged through the years, you want a new Pioneer controller? You come to Marquee, you're going to leave with one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which one you want, that's up to you. And that's true of DJ Expo and a lot of the shows that know there's going to be traffic coming through the door. I mean, dealers want to sell gear and that's going to be it. And so they're going to make sure they have what they need to do to help you as the consumer.
And I think
Makes sense?
Oh, it certainly does. And I think, back to my own experiences, there were times where we would go to Atlantic City as an example, 10, 15 years ago. And there were things that I didn't even know existed. And I was following the magazines and things pretty regularly. And then you get there and there's something unique that you've never seen before, or something that you had heard about, and now you get to see it and actually physically touch it for the first time. And you're like, this is way different this is way better than I thought it was. And I've got to buy it. I've got to get it ordered.
Were you in Atlantic City when the Beat Keeper debuted?
Yes.
Were you there that year? So for anyone watching or listening, the Beat Keeper was the very first speedometer, which is now an industry standard. It was the first person that said, oh, we'll create an interface. It was a 1 rack space piece that you ran your CD, your controller through, and it spit out how many BPMs per minute. That guy had leveraged his life to build however many. He had 2 skids of them, and people bought them like it was water during a what do you call it, a dry heat. I mean, it was insane. I never saw 2 skids of stuff go. And then he wound up licensing the technology to Newmark or somebody.
I don't remember who.
And now it's standard in every controller, or every software or what have you. But that was something you saw for the first time.
Yeah.
I know it sounds hokey. Roll up limbo sticks, kind of homemade trivia books. There was always stuff like that, and there still is always stuff like that at different shows, and you see cool stuff. I mean, tragically, as you know, Dean from Game Show Mania passed away today, but again, I remember seeing Game Show Mania debuted at DJ Expo in probably the mid 90s, somewhere in that. I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Oh, it was. We'd never seen anything like that, to be able to go and have oh my gosh, it looks like a TV game show. Ho ho!
Right. I remember when Pioneer debuted the DVDJs, and it was the Christopher Walken video, and Rooney G was tearing it up, going forward and back, and we're all watching on these 2 huge 10x16 screens. We're watching what's now standard technology, but it was like watching a man on the moon or the launch of MTV, and it was cool. And again, the nice part is this stuff is all debuting at NAMM. And we have the benefit of when NAMM happens to have fallen, we'll be the first show that there'll be new product at. Chauvet will have new product, American DJ, Pioneer will have their speakers, their controllers, QSC will have their L series. There's a lot of new products that'll be at our show, but forget about our show, at any show. You get to see it, feel it, touch it. So whether it's a new service, technology, photo booth, whatever, it's different from reading about it online or watching a video. When you get to, I'll tell you that I think one of the hottest medium size or best priced controllers out is going to be the new Hercules controller.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks cool on video, but I saw it, felt it, touched it. The platters feel just like an old school 1200. Okay. The up and down faders have the nice smooth resistance, and that crossfader is like butter. I mean, I'm telling you, you can be DJ Kubert will tear that thing apart and not break it. I mean, it's a metal chassis. I saw it at NAMM. It's supposed to be out in January or in June or July, excuse me. And I'm telling you, it's a nice piece, and it's going to hit the streets for like $6.99. I think MAP is $7.99.
Somewhere
So,
there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
but again, I saw it, felt it, touched it, and they're going to change the game, especially on an entry level controller like that. It's a nice piece. The only way I knew that is honestly
because you were there
from being at NAMM. I saw it, felt it, touched it.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you know where you're going to meet. I mean, I met DJ Jazzy Jeff at NAMM, and Stevie Wonder was walking around, and and it doesn't have to be somebody that famous. It could end up being Mike Walter that you have breakfast with, and he gives you the right piece of, the right piece of information that helps you grow your business, or gives you a little tip that helps you load in faster, or anything.
Right.
So
yeah, those little conversations on the side, whether it's been talking business or even just talking personal, you get that inspiration. Sometimes it's educational. Sometimes it's just that inspiration that makes you, say, hey, my battery is recharged. I'm ready to go back and get going and running our business. So,
well, and even you and I, we knew of each other and said hello in hallways many a time, but we happened to be on the same flight flying out to Atlantic City, and the one person switched seats with me, and we chatted the whole way, and you're stuck with me ever since.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it.
It was just fate. It was just fate that it happened.
Looks like we made it.
So for those of you, if people are like, hey, I want to check out that exhibit hall, where can they go and get passes right now for the educational side and for the exhibit hall side?
Okay, so you can go to marqueeshow.com for all things Marquee. Click on the agenda. You can see all of the seminars, the parties, everything about it. You can click on presenters to see who's presenting and kind of their short bio. Exhibit only passes are complimentary. If you are in the Midwest within a couple of hours driving of the city of Schaumburg, which is a suburb of Chicago, you're not going to be able to see this at Guitar Center. You're not going to be able to see this at Sweetwater. You're not going to see this at Full Compass or at NLFX or anywhere else, because you have all the manufacturers' reps there, okay, as well as dealers to be able to see it, feel it, touch it, explain it. You don't get this anywhere but at a show, and it's free. So make the drive down from Milwaukee or wherever. We have education passes, which gets you into all of the seminars, and that's all on our website. And then we also have a full pass, which even includes lunches and VIP seating in the front of the room. So again, it just depends on what you're there for, but we're there to serve and make everything, make your experience fantastic.
Excellent. I just put the link up again. The Marquee Show link, marqueeshow.com, is down in the description of the video. It's also in the comment section for those of you who are watching us live tonight. And thank you guys for being with. We had a nice crowd in tonight there. And as Robin said in the chat, coming up here at the top of the hour, we've got Hanging with Howie at the DJNTV.com/chill. You can pop out there and they'll do a little recording session. And after that, it is Hallway Talk, the digital version, which isn't quite as effective as the face-to-face version. Still nice, but there's just a little bit more connection, human connection. And I think that's a big part of everything we're talking about tonight is taking it to that next level and really connecting and making new friends within the industry.
Very good.
Well, my friend, thank you much for being on tonight. We're going to bounce here and such, so folks can go and get themselves ready for the next show. And tomorrow night we'll be back Tuesday night with Ben Stowe, where we're going to be doing one show a month. And tomorrow night we'll be doing the June show, and we're going to be talking about common things DJs do with their speakers that are just not doing it right. And we're going to dig into some of those common problems and have Ben describe how to fix them and show us how we are doing it wrong. So that'll be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern, and we will catch everyone then. So marqueeshow.com in the description. Go check it out, and we'll catch you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye, everybody.